Hello, Doomscribblers. Back to basics. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be a writer? There are a million ways that you could be spending your time. Why are you doing this? We're going to come back to that one. I am seeing some really interesting conversations in the rooms about, am I the only one? Here we are, a couple of months in. We are learning an entirely new voice. For almost everyone, close third, deep POV is an entirely new voice. That's hard to learn. And I am seeing some of the self-doubt come into those conversations. So people who have been proud of their writing, probably, I don't know that they would say that, but they were good writers, to take that and turn it into another thing, a different form, is hard work. And it doesn't come naturally. And there's a learning curve. And I'm seeing that frustration. I have told this story a number of times in different settings, so if I've told it on camera, I apologize. Our very first dog, Izzy, was left at the Bronx Pound. If you know New York at all, the Bronx is incredibly rough. There is a surrender fee at the New York Animal Care and Control, so people find dogs. And they said they found him on Bronx Boulevard, which was impossible. Bronx Boulevard is incredibly busy. And he was blind, ungroomed. And for a poodle, if you know what happens to a poodle if they're not groomed, it was a serious thing. Someone had left an eye infection until his eyeballs perforated, and then the meat of what was remaining of his eyeballs dropped back into the sockets, and the third eyelid was all that was left. So he had just like this red covering over where his eyes would have been. And, there isn't a very long stay at Animal Care and Control. But a rescue pulled him. And as very often happens, I was stressed at work and looking at dogs in need. And what I used to do was make up care packages and send them to rescues. But we'd been talking. And so we decided to go and meet this blind poodle. And he came home with us immediately. He was just an astounding dog. He had no idea that he was blind. He'd lost his sight young enough that he had adapted to needing to lead by his nose. But we lived on the fourth floor of a walk-up in Brooklyn, and he had never seen stairs before. I don't know about you. I was in better shape back then for sure, but 4 flights of stairs 8 times a day when you are potty training a dog, who's never housebroken, by the way. We decided that we had to teach him stairs. And so I got some food, and I went on the top stair, and I just put some food on the next step, and then I patted it so he could hear it and feel that vibration. And, for all he knew, that was a 30-foot drop. He had no idea what I was asking him to do, because I was asking him to take a step into utter darkness, complete trust. And we did this probably for about 3 days. And on the 3rd day, he stood on the top step and he barked and barked and barked and barked at me. And he was backing up and barking, and he was so almost human. It was really clear that he was saying, "What do you want me to do? Why do I have to do this? I don't understand. You keep telling me the same thing in the same way." And I hadn't, now I've seen a lot of dog trainers and I know quite a lot about dog training theory, but I was just making it up. I was just, this is something that he wants to eat, and I'm going to show him how to get to what he wants. And that bark, I came to recognize that bark as being the breakthrough moment, because he was just inches away from understanding what it was. So he tried and he tried and he tried, and then it just blew up into this bark fest. And then, of course, the next day he got it. And I'm seeing that with humans. I'm seeing I'm so frustrated at myself. I'm so frustrated that I'm not getting this right. While you're learning a new voice and a new system in a new genre, I don't know why you think that you're not a blind dog at the top of a flight of extremely steep stairs. I don't know why you're so hard on yourself. Why do you think that you should be able to do this perfectly right away? It's just unbelievable. And it goes to your misbelief. And there are lots of different misbeliefs going on in the rooms. But if you think that you should be doing this perfectly now, having written 10 chapters, you're insane. You're also a very beautiful poodle, but you're insane. Wow, I'm frozen on the screen, so I'm hoping I'm not freezing up. Right, so we go back to why are you doing this? Why are you doing this incredibly difficult thing and pushing yourself? Because you've got to know what motivates you. You've got to know what your personal stakes are in this journey if you're going to make this kind of an extraordinarily hard journey. You'll remember very, very early on, I asked you to think about what your learning modality is. And I'm sure that lots of people in this room thought they knew quite a lot about how they learn, whether they were an audio, a visual, or a kinesthetic learner. But it turns out that track changes actually shows a lot of people have been panicking because of track changes, and the more pronounced response is panic attacks. So seeing all of that visual noise is for some people just overwhelming. If that's your experience, you are not alone. We should talk about showing you how to turn off the lines so you can read the comments, and then turn them back on again and see if you can manage that, or if you can print something out so that you can read it without all of that line stuff, making your brain just fritz out. I think that we're all learning a great deal about ourselves. We're learning a lot about our learning modalities, and I want you to take charge of that. I want you to look at what is causing you trouble, what's causing you anxiety, what's causing you panic, and talk to either me or Josie, and we'll see if we can come up with ways, with tools to help you get through and over that anxiety. Then there's just performance anxiety. Am I getting this right? I'm learning all about filtering, but I'm still seeing filtering in my pages. I'm learning about crutch words and I'm still using crutch words. Well, of course you are, because you're used to writing that way. You're used to that particular voice, and now you're learning a new voice. And I've used sports metaphors before. There isn't a top athlete who walked onto a court and said, well, I'm ready now. I just got out of high school. I'm ready to be the Lakers forward guard. I don't know any of the positions. I'm so sorry. But you get my meaning. People practice and practice and practice and practice. And it's only in writing that we think, oh, I should be able to do this so fast. When in fact, what it takes is practice. If you are sitting down to the page and you are finding that you are stalled, I'm not going to say blocked because nobody is blocked, but stalled, then we want to go back to the first question is, why are you doing this? Is this worth your time? Life is very short. Is this how you want to be spending your time? And if it is, then let's work out how to get you back to a happy place of writing. And I've got a few ideas about tools. First up, you need to know, and I've used this before, you need to know whether you're a carrot or a stick person. So do you respond to reward or punishment? Are you better off if you set the timer for 20 minutes and then after 20 minutes you get some kind of treat? I probably told you this story before, but we were writing screenplays and I was in that like place. And Ginger said something like, okay, for every 10 pages that you do, you can have, and we had planned a trip to Atlantic City, which turned out to be extraordinarily depressing and horrible. And somebody threatened us and went off to get his gun, and it was all very exciting. But I am extraordinarily competitive. I will even compete with the machine. And so for every 10 pages, I got like an extra buck that I could put into the machine. That trip cured me of gambling because it was so pointless and so depressing. So are you a reward person or are you a stick person? Can you, and I've seen people do this, do a negative challenge for yourself? So if I don't write 500 words in the next hour, I have to go onto whatever my platform is and I have to fess up to my people that I didn't do it. I have to shame myself. So work out what you are. Are you carrot or are you stick? And then do something about it. Take charge, make a plan, and have that plan be something that makes you sit down and write something, anything, nothing, rubbish, absolute rubbish you're never going to show anybody else, something experimental, something that is an exercise in getting this voice down, the voice of one of your characters, the voice of your antagonist. Just write something. I have a friend who takes the books of his favorite writers and types them out, actually just types out exactly what is on their page, because he thinks that the muscle memory of that repetition, of repeating the kind of sentence structure, syntax, vocabulary, rhythm, will come through the actual typing of it, because he's reading it and typing, so going at different parts of the brain. So there's another idea. I am going to pop into the comments. We're already at 12 minutes, but we're going to go a bit long with this one because I do want to talk about this. I have a friend, very old friend, who has recently started an anti-anxiety podcast. And he is a hypnotherapist who does mindful meditations every day. And you just have to download the app. Really good guy, really like him. Give it a try. Meditation. In fact, when I first left my corporate job and went full-time writing, I employed a hypnotherapist because I could write anything for anybody. Anybody. You want me to write something, I can write it for you. But for me, I couldn't write anything for me. So I employed a hypnotherapist. And here we are. So meditation. Another friend of mine swears by an app, so I wrote it down, I wrote notes, an app called Brain FM, which helps you get into different states. So there are relaxation states and there are excitation states, and the music that they have on Brain FM helps you get into different states. The other thing, if you feel like you're blocked, I want you to think about is whether or not you are willing to do some kind of release ritual. I have in the past done things literally like cutting my nails is letting go of the last month. Although I cut them more often than that. Cutting your hair, not dramatically. Letting the water out of a bathtub. Burning a candle. Doing something mindfully to let go of whatever it is that's blocking you. It can work. The brain is this huge, fabulous, complex machine that is working. Even when you're sleeping, it's working. And we don't know a lot about how it works. And so it might sound like wackadoo Kate hoodoo to say, sit and cut your nails and think about all the things that you want to release in your life. But you don't know that it doesn't work. You don't know that you couldn't do something to release what's holding you back. Think about what makes you happy. What makes you happy? What makes you glad? What makes you grateful? What increases your dopamine and serotonin? Do those things. Do those things. More happiness is better. Take charge of your happiness. Take charge of your block. Talk to me about what your block looks like. Let's work out how to let those things go. All right, I'm going to open this up to as much discussion as we can possibly have, and I will see you in the comments. Goodbye, Doom Scribblers.